Using this call when you're ready for I got one.
Director Bradley, Director Brands, Director Cardenas,
Here.
Director Daly,
Here.
Director Keeley, Director Litback, Director Olson, Director Peterson,
Here.
Director Prokopis,
Here.
Director Silvestrini,
Here.
Director Stevenson.
Here. All right, so we do have a forum, and I know that Director Lookbacks could be joining us just a little seconds. With that, do we have any public comment today? Do you have any online public comments? Okay, seeing none. Item 3, the update will hear from Sheriff Barrett.
Morning, everybody. Sure. The only thing that I have to share with you is, first of all, I'll talk about the VOCA grant. And then you also asked for a list of items that the sheriff's office will be taking back. So let me address the VOCA grant first. So we applied for the VOCA grant again, and just so you know, with UPD, we're still applying for grants. We're still operating like we exist. So we did get funding through this grant. It's $360,000 so it is over the next 2 years. So it's about $180,000 per year of the grant, and we will go through, this time next year to figure out how we're going to address the second year. But it really does help with paying some of the wages for our advocates and the benefits. So this is really a good grant to get. We were told that we would not get as much, but we were very fortunate to get that much. And I'm really proud of Amanda for going after that, and our victim advocates, and for all the work that they do. So just wanted you to know that grant has come our way.
Sure, is there a match to that, or it's just 100%?
It's 100%.
Nice.
But when we pay the rest of wages for our advocates,
Just cost,
that's
the cost.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And then we have to do reporting back and things like that. And that's what Amanda coordinates. So good for her. And then the other thing is you asked for a list for what statutory duties are and countywide services. So Brittany is going to hand out that list, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have regarding the list. Nobody has any questions? Okay.
Do you have an idea at this point of the shared services?
As of the shared services piece that we will need.
Yeah.
Basically, it will mirror the shared services of the UPD, because you need all those. Some of those shared services we already have in the sheriff's office, so we're just identifying other shared services that we currently don't have in the sheriff's office, but currently we have a records department, we have an IT, we have a contract with Beck already. Some of those services I probably have in here. We already have, fleets in the county, our radio systems are done through the county. So those things are essential support services that we already have that we could just add to. We already participate in internal affairs, property and evidence, so those kind of things. And then we also have a legal team. We have an HR division that's already established, a fiscal division that's already established. And then our insurance risk management, PIO, communications director, those kind of things. We're just going to enhance what we already have. We're not seeking assistance for. There are some areas that we're taking a look at. SWAT. County already pays for 2 full-time SWAT people. We intend to keep those. But we would like to participate in a SWAT team. So, you know, that's something that we have to talk about, as well as anything else. So like, and I mentioned the CAR team last time. I know you said you push back, but every single agency in the county participates in CAR team. And I don't understand why you would push back if the sheriff's office participates in CAR.
I just figured we would use it more, and maybe, you know, that's something we can certainly discuss, because I don't know everything about it, right?
Right, and let me explain that a little bit. So there's 4 CAR teams, and they're ran by different agencies like Salt Lake City, UPD, I believe Harriman and West Jordan are the 4 CAR teams. All the other agencies just send somebody to participate. That's what we would be doing. But we would have to, because we'll have traffic accidents that we have to investigate, and that's what I was confused of, why you would push back if we need that. We're not saying we're overseeing the CAR team. There would be no need. We don't have that many car accidents.
You would not necessarily take it with you, but you would participate.
You would participate in.
I have no, I mean, I think
Yeah.
we should be looking for opportunities to do that and to participate with each other. And I'm not adverse to discussions about whether, I mean, I think it's healthy to have discussions about this thing belongs in the sheriff's office because of X, and this thing belongs in UPD because of Y. And then to the extent that we can, you know, negotiate agreements between us to share things, again, I think we'll reach economies. And I see no reason not to do that. And the other thing about it is, I think that if we do that on an a la carte basis, if you will, rather than being combined like we have been, I think that's more transparent for folks that may be questioning, because county sheriffs contract with municipalities all over the state to provide services, and there's no reason that our police departments shouldn't be able to do that. And it's a two-way street.
Right.
It's just really a discussion about, does this belong in UPD 2.0 or in the sheriff's office? And I'm open to those discussions. And like I say, I mean, I'm not, you know, a police officer or whatever, and I'm not an expert on that. So I'll defer to your expertise and that of, you know, others to decide what's the best way to go. But the reason I push back on that is just like, it occurred to me that, hey, we have more volume for that than the sheriff's office might. But it might be offset by the idea that, hey, this service is used by everybody in the county, and everybody in the county might feel more comfortable contracting with the sheriff for that than with.
And that's not a contract for CAR. It's a MOU between all the agencies. Everybody participates. It's just like the critical incident team. The exact same thing. Everybody participates, but there's certain teams. The larger departments tend to oversee the teams. But you know, depending on which department oversees, our intent is not to, you know, take over one of those teams, because you have to look at the volumes, and the sheriff's office won't have that type of volume. So even with the critical incident team, we will participate, just like the CAR team, we will participate, but we're not looking to say, hey, the sheriff has to oversee all this stuff, because it doesn't make any sense when we only have, a few car accidents a month within the sheriff's office jurisdiction. So, but we are having those conversations with Chief Maz. We have from the beginning of, what looks better here, what looks better there. So, we're already having those conversations.
Okay, well, I'm fine with that. I just, we need to understand.
Yeah, and I'm happy to answer any of the questions, as we move forward. What we're more focusing on in the immediate is what the organization will look like, what that law enforcement bureau for the sheriff's side would look like, and how much how many officers we would need to accomplish what we need to accomplish to take back statutory duties and the countywide services. That's all we have been focusing on, where we have not gone past that because we're still waiting for those wages and the market study, those kind of things to come through. But we're happy to answer any of your questions for you guys.
I have one more thing to say, but Steve,
I'll wait till you-
okay. So the other thing, Sheriff, and for everybody, Mayor Stevenson and Mayor Dalla and I met with Mayor Wilson and Deputy Mayor Ledbeck yesterday. The purpose of that meeting was to basically say, get on the same page, like, we know you've been meeting with the townships, right? What's the message to them? And what does it look like going forward between us and the county? And what Mayor Wilson and Deputy Mayor Ledbeck basically told us, the same thing you're saying, is that, the county is working on costing for particularly for the HR, for the employee stuff, just because different pay scales than UPD and different benefits than UPD and some things like that. And so there's some number crunching that's going on. And we talked about a goal, at least, of the county having all that stuff, to the extent they can figure it out, done shortly after Labor Day, so that they just need some more time for that. And then we set a meeting for September 12th after Labor Day to talk about that. And I appreciate the fact that you need that to be able to build a model and come up with some kind of costing. And so that's, I guess I'm saying this just so that rank and file and command staff understand that we are still talking about this stuff and still trying to work through some of the obstacles that help us get to solving some of the variables to get numbers. And then we've all been meeting with Pete Madron about the other side. So anyway, that's more of an update, but I'm assuming that you'll participate in that, or at least be clued in on that with Mayor Wilson.
Right.
Sorry, really quickly on that comment, because at the last board meeting, 3 cities talked about that we're looking in depth at that 3-city model. And I think what the directors of social media said is the important point, that we're still committed to working with the townships. We want the townships to be a part of UPD as long as the townships want to be a part of UPD. I think as we've gone through this, we continue to learn more and more. I keep seeing this pathway that exists. It's an incredibly narrow runway that we're trying to land on to make this work. And so as we're having these conversations with the county mayor, I think it's us trying to figure out how do we widen that runway and try to have the pathway that is most likely to work. We want that to work out. We're just trying to figure that out. And this is where 3 cities are also setting up meetings with all the townships to talk through some of these issues as well. See.
I just had a question for the sheriff. I see the statutory duties and the countywide services. Maybe it's premature, but for example, statutory duties records, are you taking 100% of UPD's records division?
They're not the sheriff's records. The sheriff's office, when we go take the records, so we already have a records department here, and so does UPD. When we leave, we will have to have records for all the countywide services and all of the statutory duties. Those are the records that we would take and manage.
You have to create your own records division for the law enforcement arm of the sheriff's office.
We would add to the current records division that we currently have,
Have we gone?
similar to what we had already had prior before you.
I'm just trying to understand if we have 6 FTEs in UPD's records division, are you taking all 6 FTEs with you, or are you taking 2 of the 6 or 3 of the 6? Division by division, what are you taking with you so that we can build 2.0 knowing what's left over? That's my thinking.
Well, really, you should build 2.0 on whatever your need is, because that's what we're doing, is we're going to see how many records folks we need and go from there. We haven't done that yet. We're still trying to put together this you know.
That's in the
org chart.
works, right?
Yeah,
Division by
all of it
division.
is in the works, and I know when, in the works, and I know when Under Sheriff Peterson was up here, he told you what the timelines were. And the critical piece for us is wages and benefits for whoever we bring on, and we don't know if we'll be able to hire to fill all this, so we will have to go outside to hire as well if we can. But our priority is to ensure that every UPD officer has an opportunity first. But yeah, we're not there yet. We're still building out that org chart, and you know, once it's built out, I'll be able to tell you how many records folks are gonna need. But it really is going to be our own records. We're not gonna try to manage UPD's records. There's no reason to do that. If we were to do that, we would have
As
to
we
manage
consider
records for
costs,
those
if we
counties.
consider costs of 2.0, we need to know, we need to recreate an entire records division because you needed everybody in that division and they all chose to go with you. You know, how
Well,
do we
Chief
cost?
Mazarin is figuring out how many records of folks you'll need for UPD records. He can figure out that just by finding out what records come from everything that's not statutory and countywide services, like all your precinct records, those kind of things. He'll be able to find out exactly how many people you will need.
I guess what. Because for Copus, I agree with what you're saying. I'm gonna try to word this a little differently. I'll do my best. When I think about records and we say there's 6 people and I'm curious about, I mean, you're trying to right size the sheriff's office, just like we're gonna try to right size UPD.
Right.
What I get concerned about is there's still UPD employees. And so if you take 2, or you have 2 openings and 2 go to you, and we have 4, I don't know if 4 is going to be spot on for what we need. I don't know if it's too many. I don't know if it's not enough. And so I think as we're looking at what are you taking, it's because I think we're trying to figure out, are we gonna have to go out and hire? Are we gonna have to write them out? Are we gonna have to let people go?
Right.
And so it's not about that we're not going to right size, but it is about what kind of staffing do we have that we have to figure out. Are they going to have jobs to go to in the sheriff's office, or are we gonna have to figure out if we can hold on to them, or are we gonna have to opportunities elsewhere?
Yeah, that's where the complicated part comes in, is because we don't know what the employee is going to do. So that makes it tough because we can't force anybody. So, you know, it depends on what they're gonna do, but that's what Chief Mazarin and Under Sheriff Peterson are doing as working together on that. Is trying to figure out to ensure that everybody has a job, but also to make sure that, you know, this is as smooth as we possibly can make it, which is a big challenge, and you all know that. We've talked about the challenges before, but they are working together to try to figure this out. But trying to tell you today how many records clerks I need, I don't know. You know, we're still pulling that data to see what it is.
I understand you don't know, and I'm not saying you need to know it now. I'm just trying to, I think, provide context, but think of what we're looking for. And I think it would be interesting, at least for me, to see and understand what does the sheriff's office think they need. And so, and at this point, I'm just gonna assume that our employees are either staying here or going there and understanding what that means. Doesn't mean they
We would
couldn't
hope,
decide to go
we would
elsewhere.
hope they would choose one or the other.
But so that's the assumption at this point. So I would like to see, I know that you're working on it. What does it mean if it's just a sheriff, and what does it mean if it's the sheriff in the townships? Because I think that that's gonna.
Yeah,
really-
we have not looked at the township piece yet because, you know, from what Chief Mazarin has told us is that the townships have more interest in going with UPD 2.0. So I'm not spending the time to create that other model until I get the go ahead from either, you know, the county or the townships. That's what's been passed to me. So we are building the model that is a statutory duty in countywide services. And when Under Sheriff Peterson creates the org chart, he's already working on it. He has not presented it to the UPD or to Mayor Wilson. or the county council. When that occurs, we'll present it to the UPD board. But we still have to go to the county mayor and say, this is what our thoughts are. This is what we think it looks like. What do you want?
Can I,
And then the same with the county council. We have to present it there and show them what it will look like, and they may change it. They may say, no, this is what our expectation is. So until that occurs, I can't bring it to you premature.
just as a clarification, because I felt like with the last meeting or the one before that, it was talked about that you were looking at a model that did include the townships, or at least a contract model. So is that changed?
We were talking about putting together a separate model that looked like contracting, but when I met with Chief Mazuryn, he said he's getting the feeling that the townships are staying with the UPD 2.0. So that has not been my priority. My priority is statutory duties and countywide services. Now, if the townships want something different, we can add that to it, but we still have to build that first model regardless. We still have to know wages. And then we can, I've had discussions with some of the townships about presenting them a contract model. But when he told me that I just put that on hold, because right now the priority is to get this moving and moving fast, because we're running out of time. I mean, we don't have a ton of time left to do this. So that's what we're working on. And then if we have to add a contract model in, it'll be a much easier process once we have the first model built.
I just want to say also, please give Jake our best. I understand that he had an accident and I guess he's okay, but I wish him a speedy recovery and sorry that happened.
Okay, I will. Yeah. What happens when you're out
Having
actively
fun.
involved in physical activity? So. Yes.
We met with Chief Mazuryn and reviewed the progress that he's made to date. It was my understanding and expectation that we would have a similar meeting with you and talk about, and that you were preparing a model that included the townships too, that we would be able to look at both of these things. That I don't think any of the townships have made a decision about what we're going to do.
Do the townships?
Well, I'm happy to do that. But again, we're still going to build the original model, and then we can add on a contract model to that. Once we get everything built out, it'll be a lot easier to add that contract model. I'm happy to do that, but in the Slovisa board meeting follows this, I will bring that up in my update. And if you say that's what you want, then that's what we will do. But the information I'm getting back is that it's not what you want. So I just need to know, because that makes it more confusing on all of our parts. And I don't, it's not a waste to do things, but I don't want to spend time doing this when you're on the contract anyway.
Well, and we're in the same boat.
Right?
Because in my opinion, to use Chief Prokopis as example with records, let's say, well, we give this direction to Chief Mazuryn, and yeah, he can look at the records for the 3-city model, but it's probably a totally different structure if members of Solvisa decide they want to go with UPD, especially the 2 bigger cities. And so I think we just have to work together as quickly as we can to get Solvisa members to decide where they're going to go, because it's really hard to finalize these numbers until we know what we have to work with on both sides, right?
Right.
So I was
I
looking
think that's sportsman. That's your challenge too, right? Is the unknown.
I must say though, for Savisa, the big thing that's there, Savisa can't make a decision what they're gonna do until they know what's gonna happen with the funding from Kennecott to the unincorporated areas. Once they have that number, is it gonna go, is that funding from Kennecott gonna go with the sheriff's office? Or is it gonna stay with Savisa? Savisa can't make a decision until they know that. That's the break.
See, and it was my understanding when I was in the meeting with Mayor Wilson and all of the townships, was that Slovisa was gonna stay together. That funding's gonna stay together,
To include the county.
to include the county.
That's how I
So
understand it.
the one thing we talked about though, is that in Butterfield Canyon and Yellow Fork, there is a lot of expansion with trails. We are going to have to double our canyon patrol. That is gonna come out of that money, out of Slovisa funds. That's where it's supposed to come out of, and that's what we were trying to explain, is once that expansion's completed and we have to hire that many more, that's where we're concerned about the Slovisa funding, so we've asked you all to go find other funds to bring into Slovisa. So, okay. So I'm not sure, who's got their hand raised here?
I heard that last week.
Huh?
Sorry, I heard that last week and it raised some concerns. I hear doubling Canyon Patrol, or I mean, Canyon Patrol is what, 20 some odd FTEs. You're adding a few trails in the southwest. You're gonna double the Canyon Patrol division, or you're gonna double what you've assigned to the south end from 2 officers to 4.
But
I was-
we'll evaluate what the need is, but not all of Canyon Patrol, so we're not counting that Brighton was going with the sheriff's office or immigration is going with the sheriff's office. So when you look at that, yeah, we are gonna, whatever is left, we would have to double. So when you're saying 20, that's not accurate. Because Brighton alone is five officers, I think, assigned to
But
Brighton.
double is double. I was like, what double, what? What's there, just covering the south?
Double whatever
The
it's-
whole Patrol.
You also have to remember the southeast and southwest sides are going back to the sheriff's office.
So we need to Control that as well. So
And
all
why
of that
wouldn't
is,
that be a county-wide service? Why would that be a Slovisa service?
Good question.
it's unincorporated. The southwest and southeast islands is
Just thinking,
unincorporated.
why wouldn't county-wide? Because that benefits the whole county, not just. Why does Slovisa have to fund? I don't know.
That's one part, reason the county's in Slovisa is that unincorporated.
You good? Okay.
And southeast and southwest islands are unincorporated.
I think what you're trying to point to is that why should Savisa be the only people in county paying for the services within the canyons where the whole county recreates? And that's a valid
That's the same
question.
issue Brighton has.
It's a valid question,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not only a valid question for the county, but it's also a valid question for the whole state of Utah. State of Utah is bringing in tons, millions of dollars for the ski industry. What is the state putting into paying for the public services that those canyons present? Nothing.
Well, I think those are probably broader philosophical
Yes.
issues about how to fund services in those 2 canyons in particular. But as it relates to this, to Solvisa and how we move forward. And I did think we made a little bit of progress and you know, Mayor Silverstein, Mayor Stevenson may disagree, but that. I mean, I think we all get the fact that there's this centrally assessed piece flowing into Solvisa, but my understanding is it's not the county's unilateral right to be able to pull that funding. So that would require some kind of legislative fix. And so you've got this, the funds are going to stay in Solvisa, at least for the time being. And I think, you know, there's an agreement that will work together to keep that in place so that that Solvisa or members of Solvisa can transition this in some sort of controlled fashion over the next 2 or 3 years so that we can have some stability in this process. So they can't, I don't think that 40% can just be pulled out. That's going to be up to Solvisa and the board, right, to decide how those funds are going to be allocated. And your issue is going to be part of that discussion in terms
Right,
of.
I will present a budget to the Slovisa.
So,
and
yeah.
say, I need this many more bodies to patrol this area and this area and this area, and then it's up to the Slovisa
Yeah, so-
to approve the funds.
So so guys, if we could just work together on that, especially with the county and say, look, we get we need to get to a point where the members of Solvisa, if they're going to be incorporated, and I think that's a legislative issue. That's gonna take a couple years to have that. Those funding sources even come into those entities, right? It takes a while for that stuff to transition and then they can decide what they want to do. But for right now, we need to know pretty quickly where Solvisa is going to be so that we can plan properly, because a 3-city model and a model with the 3 cities in Solvisa is a totally different shared services piece. And we need to know that pretty quickly, because budget season starts for us, it's gonna start in January, and that needs to be clarified by then. So, and I think we all agree that we need to work together to get whatever information Solvisa and members of Solvisa need, so they can communicate what they're going to do. So we know how, so we can tell Chief Mazur how to build a proper shared services component for UPD 2.0.
That's the same challenge that
Right.
they have, is not knowing where, townships will be, then you build it out on it once you know.
So we're gonna meet with townships, you're meeting with the townships, and hopefully over the next month or two, in that meeting on September 12th, we'll hopefully have some answers from the county. We can get whatever information we need to get to the townships and Solvisa, so they can make the decision that's best for them in terms of where they can go, so that we can communicate, okay, here's what we're gonna have, let's start building the model appropriately. Anyway, it's complicated.
Just one, I'm kind of curious, do you know how many officers make up county patrol?
Oh, top of my head.
21. Trump. That includes Brad and Grace as well.
Can I just, Mayor, and I'm glad we have another county particle.
Thank you, me too. It's a nice opening. Apologize for my tardiness.
I just mentioned something on the records. You agree with that? So all we're doing with the records, and I'm working with Captain Andrew Reardon on this, he's already on top of it. All we're taking is the records, UPD from 2010 to 2024. We'll take and extract that piece out, and then we'll figure out how many personnel we need. Sheriff's Office, has been around for 160 plus years and have decades of records that they still maintain. They'll figure out how much personnel they need. We have to hire some more people to do that. It's gonna just be really extracting that from the record system we have now, and maintaining those records. So we're already building out in our own chart what that records looks like for the UPD.
And most likely we're gonna need more people because economies scale. We don't have any.
Last chance for comments. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now that we're all fired up, we're really gonna have big debate on this one. Approval of surplus resolution 230701. Chief Dial, good luck.
This should be pretty quick, I hope. Just want to bring your attention to page 2 of your packet. It lists under recommendation, there are 13 vehicles, when in fact, the list of page 3 of that shows 17. I've confirmed this morning that it's actually 17. So when you look at that resolution, it is 17, not 13.
We need to make that amendment in our motion.
Is related to standard rotation vehicles.
I'll make a motion to approve surplus resolution 23-07-01.
We have a motion, is there a
I'll
second?
second that motion.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion on that? Please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's quite well.
All right, upcoming meetings, we do need to have a little bit of a discussion on this. So scheduling of the mid-August interlocal drafting committee meeting. We do have an interlocal committee, so just a reminder for everybody, we've got Mayor Silverstream, Mayor Daly, Deputy Mayor Litvack, Councilmember Olson, Nathan Bracken from the attorney for Kearns, Copperton, and then Garrett Wilcox, who's the Bell City attorney, is on that interlocal committee. And so Harmony is going to be sending out a doodle poll to set that up. The second one, rescheduling of the September 6, 2023 UPD board work session meeting. This room is fully booked out that day, and so either we can push back a week or we can move forward to Monday, August 20. So Thursday, September 7th or August 28th, or we can cancel it. Harmony can also send out a doodle poll for that if that's what you're.
Yeah, that'd be good, because the 6th is actually league convention too, so. We still have one here.
Or have any opinion if we schedule that right now or send out a.
Yeah.
poll for that.
The room is available with the evening if you want to have the evening work session. That, well, that the day that you have it scheduled is just 8 to 5.
Are you asking for a date or are you gonna get a doodle poll?
Well, I'd like to see if we can avoid the doodle poll, I think we should do that, but if we can't, I could do the 28th. So, I can't do the Thursday the 7th.
I could do the 28th in the morning. Thursday.
Wednesday not work, the 30th.
27th.
I mean, that's our typical day of meeting, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we're
Meaning-
not available. Say,
This 30th either.
according to the Harmony's head.
Okay. So what was the other option? Sorry.
So Monday, the 28th. Of August, sorry.
And when have we have met right before that, the 24th? Or the 17th?
17th, yes, that would still be about 2 weeks.
24th looks better for me than the 28th, and I'm not available on 17th.
Sorry, are you available Monday, August 28th?
I am.
Do you have anybody opposed to Monday, August 28th? Speak up now. Okay, let's schedule it for them. Thank you. All right, item 6, approval of the June 15, 2023 UPD board meeting minutes. Motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed. All right, that passes. Do you have any other business? All right, after meeting to adjourn. You need a motion to adjourn, if anybody would like to make it. So moved. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned, thank you.
It's a good thing I showed up for you to have.
That's not nobody's.